Come and dream with me.
Hello, welcome to What Do You Want to Watch, the Explosion Network's premier media podcast. Every week we get together and talk about movies, TV, and online content, and help put it into the question, did anybody watch any movies other than Barbie and Oppenheimer last year? I'm your host, Ash Hobley. Joining me today, Dylan Blight.
Statistically, I can tell you I definitely did. So,
Well, you did, but did the general public watch anything but those two movies? It's 2 out of everybody.
Well,
because based on how much people were complaining about them snubs this week, you would think they only watched those 2 movies.
Well, no, that just means they hadn't watched the other nominated movies.
They've only watched 2 movies. Yeah. On today's episode, we'll be talking about what's our watch history, going over the film news, specifically the Academy Award nominations. This week, we'll be doing our 2023 year in review, thanks to Tracked. We'll be giving some thumbs to trailers and giving this week's top 3. Kicking things off, Dylan, you've got a review up for Force of Nature, The Dry 2. Giving it a 6 out of 10.
Dumb name.
Did it lose a point for having a dumb name?
I think so. So yeah, I like the movie. Like 6 is okay. It's definitely not the as good. It's not the fantastic follow-up that sort of would have wanted after the first movie. And I think the major cause for this is just how the structure of the film and its inability to achieve the sense of dread and like seclusion that the book achieves. Like I just feel like it's not that the story's bad or anything. It's just like it's not a great adaptation, I think, of the source material.
Okay.
Because what happens is the story for this one is like it's the same character, obviously, Eric Bana, Aaron Falk. He's like doing this. He's in this one. He's actually doing his main job, because in the first film, it's he's just dragged out to this like the town he grew up in, and you hear about how he's like a finance detective or whatever, but that's not really what the film's about. This one, he's got this person he's been talking to, Alice. She works at this big place. They're trying to catch out doing lots of illegal stuff like money laundering or whatever else. I don't really go too big into it because it's like it doesn't really matter. That person's played by Anna Torv. She goes out on like a big retreat with 5-6 other women and 6 dudes from big heads of the company, CEOs and whatever else. And then she gets lost. A lot of her girls come out. She's still in there. Falk gets a call from her in the middle of the night one time. Like, call cuts out. That's the last he ever hears from him. So he goes out there to try and help look. Well, not really. That's what made, I guess, the setup for it interesting. Is it's sort of a thing where you've got two detectives, because it's him and this other character, new detective introduced in this one, played by Jacqueline McKenzie. They're down there trying to figure out the mystery, but it's not a case of them actually going into the wild and like searching for her. It's just sort of talking to the girls who have escaped or like trying to piece together what actually happened, because you can't just go wandering around aimlessly. Like, even though, I don't know, maybe in a Hollywood action movie, but in real life, that's not how this would play it. They get down there, they've got the SAS or, the emergency people doing their job. They're just talking to people or whatever else. So it's this thing where he knows that this girl, Alice, has big information they need to close their case, and she supposedly has a USB drive on her that has like the closing pieces to lock some people away. But it's like a race against time, and hence force of nature, because they have no control about, there's rain coming in, mass storms, and all this sort of stuff. But the film cuts together between that, so current time. It'll then sidestep to the girls what happened through their couple nights out there. It'll then flash back at times to Falk, like talking to Alice prior to everything happening here. And then it'll also flash back at other times to when Falk was a kid, and he so happened to have been on this trial with his mum and dad and lost his mum during the trial. Like she got lost and they couldn't find her. So it's like all these like individual stories, and I just don't feel like the film does a good job at pacing it all together and really nailing the sense, which is what the book did, and what the movie's trying to do but doesn't achieve, which is that anything could happen out there in that, you know, amongst the trees all alone. Like, is there a serial killer out there? Was it one of the women? Was it a fucking bear attack? Was it a spider bite? Was it, you know, like there's all these, like, you're supposed to have this sense of it could be a million and one things, and constantly confused about what's going on, but it just doesn't really nail it. So and it doesn't help that all the characters are super unlikable. They're supposed to be, to a degree, but I feel like they just went too far. None of the people are likable. Anna Torb's character, Alice, who's the one they're obviously looking for. So you sort of want to, they're trying to ride this line between she's like achieved where she is by knowing she's doing wrong in this company, but now she's helping them, but she's just a complete bitch. Like she's terrible, and you can so that sort of makes it hard to relate to any of them and stuff. So and then the people who you kind of wish you got more time with, I know, like from even Richard Roxenborough, big Australian actor, of course, he plays like the CEO of the company that they're trying to go after, and he's in it for a handful of scenes. It's like, well, he brings a lot of charisma and presence to the screen, but he's not in it a lot. Jacqueline McKenzie, who I think is fantastic, she's not in it quite enough. And then even getting more Eric Banner, I guess, like actually having, he gets a few scenes where he gets to emote and stuff, but yeah, I just feel like it lacks a lot that made the first film the success story it was.
There you go. So do you think this is gonna come close to matching what The Dry did at the box office?
I don't know, because it does, like, I don't know, it's weird. The Dry is a weird like COVID success story.
Yeah,
I don't know if part of the success was that it was this big Australian film that
time
word
and
of
place
mouth
kind of thing.
Maybe, I don't know. I would like to believe people would happily go out and support Australian films, but I just don't think that's the thing that happens anyway. Well, I know that's the thing that doesn't happen. Like, you can just look at the box office. So, but I mean, the book's still popular. Like, the book series is popular.
What was your audience like? Was it Baron? You know,
third,
not bad for like an advanced screening, I guess, that not many people would have. Unless you're checking the cinema schedules, you wouldn't know that it's been released yet. But so, not super promising from the sound of it, though.
Yeah, we'll see what it's like. Yeah, obviously it opens this week officially, so see what the stuff is there. I mean, I hope it gets enough, because as much as I think this is a bit of a letdown, there is one more book, so it's a trilogy. So hopefully it gets enough that we can see the third one through, and they can call it, I can't remember what the third book's called, but just whatever the book's called, The Dry 3.
Yeah. All right. So I went out and watched the new Michael Mann film, Ferrari, starring Adam Driver, Penelope Cruz, Shailene Woodley, following Enzo Ferrari during the year of 1957. Obviously, the founder of Ferrari, the sports car manufacturer, and also like leading like racing team. It follows Enzo Ferrari and the Ferrari team in the lead up to the Mile Maglia, which is like a big open road race back in the 50s. That was like very endurance based. It's like 1,000 miles or whatever. Big deal. Preceding the film, a year before, his wife and his son Dino had passed away, kind of causing like a fracture in their marriage and that kind of thing, because he kind of promised that he would find a way to keep their son alive, but they weren't able to overcome his sickness. In the meantime, he has a secret family away from his wife, with Shailene Woodley's character and their young son, and he's being pressured by her to let their son take the Ferrari name because the confirmation is coming up. At the same time, because they're investing so much money into racing, they're currently going into massive deficit because of, spending all the money on racing and not selling enough cars. So they're going to have to potentially look at partnering up with another company So all this is happening at the same time. This film is definitely underwhelming. Like narratively, there just isn't enough kind of there, and then on the character front, none of the characters are super engaging enough to be worth investing. This film, it feels like it doesn't have a super solid reason to be. Penelope Cruz is probably the most interesting element of this film as Enzo Ferrari's wife, who is learning that her husband has a secret family, and also is like an equal partner in the company. She's really engaging. Like some of the racing stuff is really good. I'm sure you probably heard about the crashes in this film.
All I know is that one dude laughed at it, and then Amdram told him to fuck off.
So there are two prominent. I would say there were two prominent crashes in this film. Both are not good. One,
doesn't one of them include like kids dying or something? Though?
Yes,
and that's the one that the person laughed at apparently. So
it wouldn't surprise me because it is almost cartoonish the way that it is.
It's a true story, so it's like
It's true, but it's still, and it. I don't think it's done in the most tasteful way that it could have been done. It feels like there's a certain amount of shock and awe about that crash in particular, but even the first crash in which a driver is driving around like a test track and like loses control at some point, that is also, I could see that eliciting laughs in the certain audience. I don't know, it is not a very engaging film. It was definitely parts of me that's like checking my watch, seeing how much longer this is going to be.
Wow. You look at your watch in the cinema?
I mean, if you want to know how long you still have to go to see.
Do you have a smartwatch or a real watch?
Just a real watch.
Okay, so you gotta wait for like the screen to be bright so you can see what time it is.
Yeah, I used to have like glow in the dark like
hands
on one of them, but I think.
Okay. I was about to say, I put my watch on, it's got a smartwatch, obviously, and there's a cinema mode, so it keeps it on and vibrates. So it vibrate, and I can know if like someone's calling me, it's important, I guess, or something. But it doesn't light up, right? But then I can't check my watch in the cinema, because it shuts the screen off. So if you turn your hand, it never lights up, and annoys people.
It's a conundrum.
Side note.
So Ferrari, it's fine. So I also watched a newish documentary that released on Binge called Time Bomb Y2K, which kind of delves into the Y2K problem through exclusively like real life footage. There's not like a narrator or talking heads, vox pops or anything. It's all taken.
I'm sorry, but some people have said Chris Jericho has a problem at the moment. I had to say it, or else it was just gonna
eat away at you.
Yeah, I just had to. Yeah,
this segment.
Anyway, continue.
So follow all archival footage, kind of documenting the lead up to the year 2000, and obviously the Y2K problem, which for young people who may not know, because it is crazy, it's in 2024, like 18-year-olds were born after the Y2K was a thing. All computer chips, or a lot of computers before the year 2000 had the date set to the first two digits automatically set to 19. So it would be 1999, 1998 and all that, in order to save data, because obviously, but back in the day, the computing power was very expensive. So, by automatically setting in stone those two numbers, that would save like a bunch of computing power to use in other ways. But it turns out the theory was that once they got to the year 2000, all computers would automatically just jump back to it, thinking it was 1900, and thus everything would go to shit. So yeah, it kind of follows, like, obviously documents like how the news covered it during in the lead up. A lot of prominent figures at the time kind of like trying to warn people and trying to get the government to like spend money to try and solve the problem and that kind of stuff. Really interesting like elements of like they bring up like people who are kind of trying to take advantage of the situation. Like they have like a montage of like a bunch of like different books that were published about the Y2K problem and like how to prepare for it and that kind of stuff, and like a lot of people trying to make money off that kind of stuff. And then I think it's the preachers that who was it, Jessica Chastain and Andrew Garfield portrayed in that film. They like have a segment like talking about how bad, how terrible it is, and it's like God's plan that the devil is behind it all this electricity and all these problems and that kind of stuff. And even like militias starting up because they're worried that the government is going to be stockpiling all the resources in the wake of the 2K, like
I
kind
always
of
find it
ruining
funny
everything.
because all those people, obviously, you're like crazy, whatever. But it's like one of those things when I remember when I don't know, I think I got told about it probably when I was, I was like 8 to 10. I remember my dad telling me about it, like because obviously I was alive, but not
Mhm.
I wasn't really paying enough attention. But I was just remember thinking like, well, that does make sense. And still to this day, I'm like, it's a question worth asking. I feel like I can understand how the question was asked. What happens? I'm like, that's a fair question. Like what happens if the planes drop out of the sky? But then everyone just rolled with it, like into it.
Yeah, most people were like, okay. Well, they did extensive testing and that kind of stuff beforehand, and there were a lot of it. Like, there could have potentially been a problem. Like, they did tests at like a sewerage plant, and like all the sewage just completely just shot out in the middle of a park and everything because of the issues. And like a nuclear power plant, they practiced moving the date forward, and there's like a bunch of stuff like shut down. Like shutting down power to a bunch of places. So like it was a problem that could have potentially ruined everything. But a lot of people like put in a bunch of work. Like the government's put in a lot of money to like actually make it seem like it was a seamless transition. Of course, really fascinating. It's also very amusing. Like they have a bunch of celebrities like pop up at certain points that have been asked like on press junkets about what they're going to do in Y2K. It's like the Backstreet Boys. What are you going to do on New Year's Eve? We're going to bunker down in case the end of the world comes.
Never know, man.
Because also the year 2000 was historically or like religiously like a date that people thought was going to be
No, it was 2000.
significant.
No, wasn't it? Was it?
Yeah, like some people believe the rapture was going to come or Jesus was going to come back at the start of the year 2000. So there's that element to the story as well. So really fascinating, even though they're like no one's talking in retrospect about the events of that year, like kind of seeing how the story was being told kind of in real time during that period. And like even back in that time, they were like fear mongering and accusing people of like making up the Y2K problem for their own self-interest and that kind of stuff. Very fascinating. So Time Bomb Y2K, very interesting documentary you can check out on Binge. Dylan, you can also like chill out for a second, relax, put your feet up, because I'm about to talk about some anime. So there's 2 anime that I've watched recently. They're only like about 4 episodes in each. One is Solo Leveling, which is an anime over on Crunchyroll. It's set in a world.
Wait, hold on, just quick. I'll have nothing to say for the rest of the time you continue. I might check that out.
Yeah,
I was looking at it the other day. I opened the Crunchyroll app. I went, I'm too tired. But anyway, that's my 2 cents. I got nothing else to say.
Okay.
Continue on.
So this is it's an anime set in a world in which portals have started to like pop up, filled with dungeons and monsters and that kind of stuff. And if they aren't conquered, they kind of all the monsters kind of break out into the real world. At the same time, like a bunch of people have been awakened and have like hunter abilities, I guess, special skills or skill sets to be able to go into these portals and take out enemies. They're all kind of ranked on some sort of power rating. We follow a character called Sung Jin Woo, who is a rank E fighter or hunter. Basically the bottom of the bottom, like barely scrapes in to be classified as a hunter, and is seemingly useless in every single dungeon he goes through. But he does go into a dungeon with a bunch of other like low-ranking people. They come across a secret second dungeon which is much more than they expect. And after this traumatic experience, Sung-woo gets like, I don't know, he gets put into the system after like almost dying, which is like seems to still early days, so it's like it is also very much a slow burn. Like everything isn't set up like first episode, but it seems like he's got like a MMO almost esque interface, and he's able to level up his abilities as a hunter, something that isn't possible amongst other hunters. Once you've got your ability, you're just that's what you are from birth or whatever. So yeah, really fascinating, really dark, very violent at times. But you know, if you're into those MMO like anime shows, isekai shows, this one obviously set in something close to the real world. Really good, very fascinating, really well animated. Definitely worth checking out. And it's got a bunch of hype around it. Probably one of the more popular new simulcasts this season. And then I've also been watching Delicious in Dungeon, a new anime that's currently streaming on Netflix. It's being produced by Trigger, who obviously did the Cyberpunk anime. So this one is set in like against some sort of fantasy world, in which there's like an giant underground dungeon that people are trying to explore. So we start off with this group of 6 adventurers. They come face to face with the Red Dragon. Subsequently get absolutely hammered, and the team mage kind of teleports as many of her teammates out as possible, including the leader, which is her brother. She gets eaten by the dragon subsequently, and her brother wants to go back into the dungeon so they can recover his sister's remains at least before she's fully digested. But because they lost all their equipment, they've got no money. So how are they supposed to afford to go back into the dungeon all the way down? The solution, they're going to cook the stuff they find inside the dungeon, including the many enemies they have to face. Fortunately, they come across a dwarf named Senshi, who has been sustaining himself inside the dungeon, like cooking monsters and harvesting food for like 10 years. So they accompany him, and like they just, each episode is them like going through a different part of the dungeon, finding new food sources, and then cooking them up. So it's like this weird mashup of like cooking food and dungeon monsters. So really fascinating. I'm listening to the English dub, which is really good because one of the characters is voiced by Emily Rudd from One Piece, and also what's his name, Sun Won Cho from social media, from viral videos. So that's really good, really well animated, really cool art style. Yeah, I would recommend checking it out, even though it's kind of gross, I guess, because it's these sentient beings that are being killed and then turned into food. It's fun to watch. So yeah, check out Delicious in Dungeons on Netflix. Speaking of Netflix, let's move into the mandatory Netflix segment of the show. And Dylan, you've been watching the new documentary series American Nightmare, aka Real Life Gone Girl.
Yeah, it kind of is. Yeah, this was pretty good. I feel like it was. It could have been 2 episodes or just a movie. This is a common problem I have with a lot of these Netflix documentaries. Is they quite often feel like dragged out too long.
Stretched out, yeah.
3 episodes. Without spoiling it, I guess I never heard about this case at all. Maybe I missed that news cycle or something. But it's this dude or this couple wakes up in the middle of the night. There's like people in swimsuits, they say, holding guns. They kidnap his partner. He tells the cops. The cops are like, "You're a fucking liar. Like, this just sounds way too outlandish. It didn't happen." So they think it's him. They're like, Where'd you kill your partner? Like, where is she? Where's this woman? She turns up several days later, in a different state at like a dad's home or something like that. And then they're like, "Well, wasn't this motherfucker? So she faked it all." And then like, I mean, I don't want to spoil it, but spoilers, it's true. No, it happened. Like, that's the
no, yeah.
So
no, what I'm saying is police are shit.
Well, no spoilers. Yeah, that's not a spoiler. It's well known that you watch any of these true crime docos, and a connecting factor in a lot of them is police as shit. But yeah, so lots of terrible police work goes on. Lots of assumptions about people happens. Lives of 2 people are ruined because of it's not obviously don't want to put full blame on police because there is a
There's the
perpetrator.
criminals as
There's
well.
criminals involved. But at the end of the day, like the cops did terrible, and multiple cops and an FBI agent and all these weird things that come out about them, and like I don't know, so it's definitely interesting, worth watching. But yeah, I think it could have been a better like movie, probably just a feature length doco.
Okay. Yeah, it's interesting because I've listened to the case on the Philip DeFranco show, like him covering the story there. So I got like the base notes. So, yeah, I don't know if it makes for a fascinating.
This has it's a lot of interviews of both the guy and the girl,
the actual victims,
the actual victims, yeah.
So it's cool. And then you watch ONEFOUR Against All Odds, the documentary about the Australian rap group. I can't remember what the term
rap
for the genre. Drill rap. That's it.
Yeah, I had this on my list for a while. Finally got around to it the other day. I quite enjoyed it. Like I knew most of this stuff already. It's just like hearing it. I guess them speak about it, and especially like interviews with their manager and stuff like that. But I mean, if you listen to Australian hip hop or just like pay attention to a lot of the news coverage, none of the stuff's in here. I guess especially for like an American audience, this might be like a lot more super interesting, or even Australian audience in particular who aren't paying attention, which I guess is the thing. And I can't remember when you said you watched it, like you hadn't heard of them, have you? Because you don't really pay attention. Yeah, so different sort of stuff there, but like basically you've got a story of people who did bad things. That's not like they're arguing that, but they are then trying to like turn their life around and like they're having success in music. And it's just a story of them consistently getting fucked by Australian police, in particular New South Wales police, and nearly just trying to force them back into a life of crime, and so they can lock them up and ruin their lives, even though they're just trying to do music. And one person in the interviews in the documentary just puts it best, which is every time you hear about what's happened to ONEFOUR, it is just the most like straight comparison to NWA in the 90s, early 90s in America, and like what happened to them and the conversations around gangster rap and all this sort of stuff. So it's just the exact same sort of shit. And you go, surely that sort of stuff can't happen now. Like freedom of like artistic expression, surely a thing. No, probably not. So yeah, it's a shit thing that's, I mean, it's not over. Like, it's still just like they still don't play concerts.
It's fascinating because I read a news story like a week ago that apparently the police saved them from an assassination attempt from like a rival gang. So
they say. I fucking don't believe anything with it. I got my conspiracy hat on for anything happening over there.
Yeah, but I think I said at the time, like the police are very much painted as villains. It's like,
but they don't realize
they don't realize what they're saying.
You got this. The head's like whatever the woman in particular I think's the worst, whatever her official job title is. Like she's like, you know, the boss of the boss of the New South Wales police or whatever. And she just like says this shit like, well, that makes sense. That's a very normal thought path to happen. And yeah, they're very much painted like monsters. Rightfully so, because they're terrible people. I can't. There's no way you can watch this. And if your takeaway is, well, they wear fuckheads in their young 20s.
One time.
Yeah. So let's ruin their lives forever. Like, if that's your takeaway for this, like,
I don't know. I feel you know, but also like that's the culture we're currently living in. Where you do one bad thing one time, then you can't do anything ever again.
I don't get, because the ones who like got charged of stuff go to prison, right? And you're like, okay, well, that's the criminal justice system working. They started that massive fight. One of them does 2 out of his 4 years in jail for that brawl. Okay, well, that there is how the criminal justice system is supposed to work, not continually fuck any chance they have of escaping
Yeah.
and making success out of their lives. No, it's
No, not
it's outrageous.
continually targeting them. Yeah,
Yeah, it's outrageous.
it's very messed up.
It's like he did his time. That is literally how
That
any
works.
any like non fucking third world country like criminal system works. It's basically the same. Like the idea is you get charged with something, you go to jail, you come out, like you're not like you don't have a cop riding a fucking on top of you at all times trying to ruin your life. I know it's disgusting, absolutely disgusting.
That's everything I watched this year. Let's move into some film news. And the big news this week, the Academy Award nominations were released. So your Best Picture nominees for this year are American Fiction, Anatomy of a Fall, Barbie, The Holdovers, Killers of the Flower Moon, Maestro, Oppenheimer, Past Lives, Poor Things, and The Zone of Interest. Not a super surprising list. I think, as several people point out, it's like 10 for 10 for the PGA nominations. I don't think I haven't seen anyone go a Best Picture film was snubbed this year. I think everyone was kind of, on the page. That's what the list was going to be. And that's where it is. Where the major discussion this past week has been is in Best Leading Actress and Best Director, in which Margot Robbie and Greta Gerwig were not nominated. And subsequently, all of social media, it seemed, has been on either side of the discussion of whether they deserve to be nominated or not. A lot of people very vocal and extremist in both directions. A lot of celebrities coming out in support of Barbie, including Hillary Clinton making remarks about her disappointment in those people not being nominated. Yeah, Dylan, what has your been reaction to like the Barbie snubs this week, considering it's a film that got 8 nominations, including Best Picture?
The only one I mean, I'll put it this way. Snub is a term we use consistently. Nothing can technically get snubbed because it's just a bunch of people choosing stuff, and there's many awards.
Snub is
shows. It's just a term.
Snub is a term to get people upset.
Yeah.
And the reason Barbie, the main reason Barbie is being brought up so much, at least from entertainment sources, and it'll probably be in the show notes here, in the thumbnail here, is because everybody has seen Barbie, thus everybody is very likely to be upset or like has some understanding. It's a relevant thing to bring up,
So, yeah, Greta Gerwig is the only one I think is a justifiable, like, oh, that's a bit weird she didn't get nominated. But everything else, including Margot Robbie, Best Actress, yeah, whatever. No, that's no.
Yeah, so we might as well just get into the nominations of those two categories. The nominees for Best Director are Justine Triet for Anatomy of a Fall, Martin Scorsese for Killers of the Flower Moon, Christopher Nolan for Oppenheimer, Yorgos Lanthimos for Poor Things, and Jonathan Glazer for The Zone of Interest. Those all kind of fit the bill for what the directing branch of the Academy has kind of been voting for in these last few years. Like, if you track what they've been voting their preferences for the last few years, very rarely big blockbuster movies or like showy stuff, and more recently been going for more foreign language films. It's a much more international category than it has been previously. Obviously, again, this year 2 non-Americans, I guess, or non-American produced films nominated for Best Director. And of course, Justine Triet. She's kind of been missed in the Barbie furor, but obviously she's nominated, the one female nominated in the category. But then also in the Best Actress category, you've got Annette Bening for Naiad, Lily Gladstone for Killers of the Flower Moon, Sandra Hüller for Anatomy of a Fall, Carey Mulligan for Maestro, and Emma Stone for Poor Things. Of those, probably Annette Bening is the one that probably have irked people, because not many people have seen. Well, not many people on social media have seen Naiad. Apparently, Naiad was in the top 10 films on Netflix, according to one source I've heard. And, that film just speaks to a certain audience and a certain demographic, which is heavily prominent in the Academy, at the very least, of older people,
What I'll say the funniest thing I find about Academy nominations
Yes.
is I'll have people who watch like nothing but Marvel movies all year at work,
Mhm.
and then the Academy nominations come out, and suddenly they're fucking like
Experts.
and it's so different than like my dad, and this is just the it's like even my dad will be like he's watched like two of the best like nominees he's watched Oppenheimer and he's watched Kills of the Flower Moon, right? And he goes, it's bullshit that Leonardo DiCaprio was not nominated. And I go, have you watched any of the other films? No, but it's bullshit. Like that's it's just such a thing. It happens every year, and it's just people become such like film experts.
Yeah, the other thing, well, there's many factors to consider. The one that probably is most in about Leo's not being nominated is a lot of it is politicking and like campaigning. And from what I've read, Leonardo DiCaprio was not interested in campaigning for himself. He was largely trying to help Lily Gladstone get nominated and potentially win. Instead of pushing his own agenda.
Good
I
guy,
guess.
Leo.
Good guy, Leo. Doing something for a lady in Martin Scorsese. Give him back. But yeah, I think the other interesting thing is the voting process of the nominees. Even though everyone kind of nominates 5 people in like a weighted preference, like it depends on how many like 1s and 2s you kind of get. Like, so it's really important that people like put you as your favorite performance of the year in that category. So you could understand how Margot Robbie would. I don't think many people would have put Margot Robbie as a 1 or a 2 on their ballot.
No,
she would have been like 3 or 4. Like she was probably be very popular, but that's kind of just the way the weighted preferences kind of goes. It's very weird and complicated. I tried to read through how it was how it was done. It was just like a bunch of confusing numbers. There's a reason there is an accountancy firm who tackles all the nominations and the voting for these things, because it's pretty complicated. But yeah, I think the Annette Bening nomination, while surprising to certain people, definitely the older demographic, they also like to include somebody who's a veteran, I guess, in the category as well. So Margot Robbie just ended up being the unlucky person on the outer. I guess we'll mention the other major acting categories. Lead actor in a drama. Lead actor Bradley Cooper for Maestro, Coleman Domingo for Rustin, Paul Giamatti for The Holdovers, Cillian Murphy for Oppenheimer, and Jeffrey Wright for American Fiction. Best actress in a supporting role: Emily Blunt for Oppenheimer, Danielle Brooke for Color Purple, America Ferrera for Barbie, Jodie Foster for Nyad, and Divine Joy Randolph for The Holdovers. And best supporting actor in a supporting role: Sterling K. Brown for American Fiction, Robert De Niro for Killers of the Flower Moon, Robert Downey Jr. for Oppenheimer, Ryan Gosling for Barbie, and Mark Ruffalo for Poor Things.
Yeah, so out of all those, my only hot take is that Bradley Cooper is highly overrated and shouldn't have been nominated.
Yeah, I think Maestro again is a film that definitely plays to a certain segment of the Academy who enjoy those old school biopic epics, I guess, and aren't like there's a certain audience that doesn't read social media and isn't into don't view a film of certain people trying to win an Oscar, I guess. But which, I feel does color like his performance in that film.
I think,
from my understanding,
it's just a dumb performance, but whatever.
Yeah, I mean, who else do you think was unlucky to miss out in those categories? Obviously, Greta Lee was somebody. All the cast of Past Lives actually were unfortunate not to make. crack that list. I think the most surprising one there is America Ferrera, because I don't think she'd been nominated anywhere really.
That speech really did something. To
That
the
the
Academy
Critics'
Awards,
Choice Award speech,
Hmm.
really like won her a lot of support. It looks like.
Turns out.
So yeah, good for her. Okay, in the other categories, Dylan, were there any what was surprised you that got nominations, and what got you angry that didn't get nominations?
Nothing. All my anger got worked up at the Emmys, and now I got nothing for the rest of you.
Really? Absolutely.
Yeah.
I was very happy that Godzilla Minus Zero got nominated for Best Special Effects. The little movie that could got in. It was interesting that a lot of like high profile documentaries, like celebrity driven documentaries, I guess, like Still with Michael J. Fox and American Symphony with John Batiste, weren't nominated. Instead, I think most of them are, from what I understand, foreign documentaries, or like obviously hitting more like actual topics rather than like following a celebrity, I guess. So it is what it is. Interesting that Wes Anderson got nominated for Best Live Action Short for The Wonderful Story of Henry Sugar. So he could potentially win for that category. Probably the most high profile person who's been nominated in that category for a while. Best Score.
Yeah.
They nominated John Williams for Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny.
Nah.
Over The Boy and the Heron. Over Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. Over a bunch of fantastic scores this year. That is a shocker. And probably is just a name thing, I'd have to assume.
I assume so. I don't know. Like, it's just... Maybe it's just too much like where I'm
not to disparage like the composers in that branch of the Academy Awards, but come on. Really?
Yeah.
Really? Just because you assume it's going to be his last time, he just gets a...
We've been doing that for like 10 years.
Yeah, he's got heaps of nominations. Like, what are you doing?
He's fucking faking his age, I think.
Interesting. Obviously, the Zone of Interest was very prominent across the board. It's probably going to be leading the international feature film category. Interestingly, the Taste of... what was it? Taste... The film nominated by France for the international film category did not get nominated. The film that they chose over Anatomy of a Fall, because of politicking, because she came out and made disparaging remarks about the French president when she accepted the award at Cannes. Very interesting that, that all like justified, I guess, that didn't pay off for the French delegation. Ha! Other interesting ones, obviously, Best Animated Film nominees are Boy and the Heron, Elemental, Nimona, Robot Dreams got in, and Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. People a bit upset that Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles didn't make the cut.
No, I'm not. It was fine.
It was good, but I haven't seen Robot Dreams yet, but I'm keen, and I think, obviously, from what I've seen, that looks very good. So,
I've seen a trailer.
And surprisingly, for the Mission Impossible as a franchise, got its first nominations this year for Best Sound and Best Visual Effects.
No.
Hard to believe. Like,
yeah, I know. I would have thought they got nominated for something before, but
absolutely. Dylan, anything else you want to talk about the Academy Award nominations?
No. I'm working on a list. Started before doing it. I'm just going to do a little list like I did last year and put up an article on the website of where you can watch all these things if I can find all of them. But do that for myself and then share it like I did last year. But,
yeah.
Because all the documentaries, fucking none of them are streamed anywhere.
No,
basically,
very hard to find any documentaries.
Hmm.
Yeah. I guess my final question is Oppenheimer going to just dominate these Academy Awards?
Yeah, I'd assume so. Nolan's time, I guess. So
Yeah. The irony that all those people are upset about Barbie not getting a Best Director nomination and that kind of stuff almost 10 years after Christopher Nolan and The Dark Knight kind of completely changed the Academy Awards. Like, Barbie would not have gotten a Best Picture nomination if The Dark Knight had not been snubbed that year, and they increased the number of Best Picture nominees to 10,
I'm telling you right now, if I have to deal with people saying Barbie not winning is fucking sexist, I'll be like,
I mean, the argument that kind of infuriates me the most is that people are upset that because Barbie made so much money, it should be nominated.
It's not the fucking box office awards.
Yeah, that's what the Golden Globe for Best Box Office Achievement is for.
Yeah,
as I saw somebody point out. So yeah. So that's the big news for this week. Let's move into talking about Tracked 2023 year in review. We're going to talk about this last week, but that episode ended up being very bloated, so we moved it to this week. Of course, we like to talk about go through our year in review thanks to Tracked, which is a fantastic service to help you keep track of all you're watching throughout the year. So Dylan, what was the first thing you watched in 2023?
My first play of 2023 was Blueback on January 2nd at 7:59 p.m.
Interesting. The Australian film with the whale, right?
Yep, from the director of The Dry.
Oh,
there you
go. My first play of 2023 was Shithouse, the Cooper Raiff film. I watched that the 2nd of January at 7:17 p.m.
We both took the first off. There you
go. All right. Dylan, how many hours of television did you watch in 2023?
I watched 611 hours of 98 television shows.
All right. I watched 553 hours of 113 shows.
Well, I'm actually surprised I'm higher than you.
I'm also surprised.
What the fuck?
I don't know how that's possible. Well, yeah. I guess you've got a dedicated 3 hours or 2 hours, 2 or 3 hours of wrestling every single week, so that adds up.
Yeah, I guess. And the thing is, if it's I'm gonna admit it's bloated because sometimes it's just on and I'm like, I don't care about this match. It's kind of like tracking sport a bit. I guess I'm like, I'll zone out for 10 minutes. It's not like.
All right, Dylan, what was your 10 most played shows of 2023?
All right, I'm skipping the wrestling ones.
But I mean, it's most played shows, so I mean, it can only be 2 or 3, right?
Oh yeah, I suppose. Well, yeah, okay. I'll do it then. I'm skipping them for the actors and stuff, though. That's because that ruins the list. All right, so most played TV shows, 10 down?
Yep.
Number 10, Abbott Elementary, 15 players. Number 9, The Bear, 15 players. Number 8, Lego Masters Australia, 15 players. Number 7, Utopia, the Australian show, 16 players. Number 6, Star Wars, The Bad Batch, 16 players. Number 5, Brooklyn Nine-Nine, 17 players. Number 4, Happy Valley, 18 players. Number 3, All Elite Wrestling, Collision, 28 players. Number 2, All Elite Wrestling, Rampage, 45 players. Number 1, All Elite Wrestling, Dynamite, 52 players.
All right, my top 10. Number 10, Welcome to Wrexham, 15 players. Number 9, Star Wars The Bad Batch, 16 players. Number 8, How I Met Your Father, 20 players. Number 7, Last Week Tonight with John Oliver, 20 players. Number 6, Blue Lock with 21 players. Number 5, Have You Been Paying Attention, 26 players. Number 4, Double Fine Psychology, 32 players. Number 3, Kaguya-sama, Love is War, 37 players. Number 2, Kim's Convenience, 53 players. And number 1, Game Changer, 59 players. What was your most watched network?
Netflix, 23 shows.
Mine was also Netflix, 30 shows. So, what was your network count?
39.
Interesting. Mine was 64.
Fucking hell.
Yeah. bunch of little stuff.
Yeah.
All right. What were your top 5 genres?
Drama, 41 shows. Comedy, 34 shows. Adventure, 21 shows. Action, 21 shows. Science fiction, 21 shows.
Mine was comedy 50 shows, drama 34 shows, documentary 30 shows, science fiction 26 shows, and fantasy 25 shows. All right, let's move into movies then. How many hours of movies did you watch in 2023?
378 hours and 206 movies.
I watched 262 hours of 141 movies. So what were your top 10 most watched movies of 2023?
Fucking the bottom 3 are whatever, I'm including them. Number 10, AEW Cross New Japan Pro Wrestling presents Forbidden Door, 3 hours 58 minutes. AEW All In London, 3 hours 59 minutes. Number 8, New Japan Wrestle Kingdom 17, 4 hours. All right, now we're out of wrestling. Number 7, Scream 6, 4 hours 6 minutes. Number 6, The Creator, 4 hours 28 minutes. Number 5, Fast X, 4 hours 44 minutes. Number 4, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, 5 hours. Number 3, John Wick Chapter 4, 5 hours 40 minutes. Number 2, Oppenheimer, 6 hours 2 minutes. And number 1, Babylon, 6 hours 18 minutes.
Okay. What, that you watched it twice? 3 times?
Babylon?
Yeah.
Twice.
Okay. All right. My number 10 is Napoleon, 2 hours 38 minutes. Number 9 is the American Gladiators documentary, 2 hours 50 minutes. Number 8 is John Wick Chapter 4, 2 hours 50 minutes. Number 3 is Oppenheimer, 3 hours 1 minute. Number 6 is Babylon, 3 hours 9 minutes. Number 5 is Elemental, 3 hours 24 minutes. Number 4 is Killers of the Flower Moon, 3 hours 26 minutes. Number 3 is Wrestle Kingdom 17. Number 2, Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, 4 hours 40 minutes. And number 1 is Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning, 5 hours 28 minutes. What was your most watched studio of 2023?
Lionsgate, 10 movies.
Interesting. Mine was Warner Brothers Pictures, 10 movies. What were your top 5 most watched genres?
Oh, hold on. The studio count, if we did that for TVs, 50.
Oh, mine was also 50.
No, there you go.
There you go. Yep.
Genres, number
Top 5.
1, horror, 72 movies. Number 2, thriller, 61 movies. Number 3, drama, 53 movies. Number 4, comedy, 52 movies. And number 5, action, 36 movies.
Interesting. My number 1 is comedy, 52 movies. Number 2, drama, 38 movies. Number 3, documentary, 36 movies. Number 4, action, 35 movies. And number 5, adventure, 23 movies. All right. Top 5 actors. Most watch actors of 2023.
Interesting list. Hold on. Let me do it backwards. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. All right. So to put this in perspective, my number 10 is actually number 65.
All right. So top 5.
Yeah. No. Do you want top 5?
Yeah.
All right. 1, 2, 3. All right, 4, 5. All right, number 5 is number 41. Mahershala Ali. Scroll. Jack Quaid. Roger L. Jackson. David Arquette. And Donald Sutherland. And number 1, Toby Jones. And my number 1 was number 8.
How many things was Toby Jones in that you watched?
The Hunger Games Catching Fire, The Hunger Games Mockingjay Part 2, The Pale Blue Eye, The Wonder, Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny, and Tetris.
Okay. My top 5 are Ben Schwartz in 4 shows and 1 movie, Roger Jackson in 6 movies, David Arquette in 1 show and 5 movies, Ted Tascori in 5 shows and 1 movie, and Jack Quaid in 2 shows and 4 movies. Who are your top 5 actresses of 2023?
Number 5 is number 11. So this is a lot better. Easy to wrap your head around. Number 5, Jennifer Lawrence, 5 movies. Number 4, Ayo Edebiri, 3 shows, 2 movies. Number 3, Nev Campbell, 1 show, 5 movies. Number 2, Courtney Cox, 6 movies. And number 1, Elizabeth Banks for 6 movies.
Okay. My number 5 is Courtney Cox, 6 movies. Number 4 is Gal Gadot for 1 show, 5 movies. Number 3 is Neve Campbell for 2 shows, 5 movies. Number 2 is Ayo Edebiri for 2 shows, 5 movies. And my number 1, Stephanie Hsu, 4 shows, 3 movies. Who are your top 5 most watched directors?
Peter Ramsey at number 5, 2 shows. Ahsoka and The Mandalorian. I might call out who these are because they're not as recognizable. Number 4, Jude Wang, 2 shows. Lucky Hank and Twisted Metal. Number 3, Gracie Otto, 2 shows. The Clearing and Deadlock. Number 2, Wes Craven, 4 movies. I don't need to say. And then number 1, Francis Lawrence, 4 movies. Shout out to my Hunger Games rewatch.
My number 5 is Chad Stahelski for John Wick's Chapter 2, 3, and 4. Number 4 is David Ferrier for Tickle King and Mr. Organ. Number 3 is Kenneth Branagh for Murder of the Orient Express, Death on the Nile, and Haunting of Venice. Number 2 is Wes Craven for Screams 1 to 4. And my number 1 is Wes Anderson for Asteroid City, Wonderful Story of Henry Sugar, The Swan, The Ratcatcher, and Poison. Got a bit of a boost there because of all those short films.
Yeah.
And what are your top 5 most watched writers?
Number 5, Suzanne Collins for writing all the Hunger Games books. Number 4, George Lucas for creating Star Wars and Indiana Jones. Number 3, Kim Henkel for writing the first Texas Chainsaw movie and then getting based upon for the rest of them. Number 2, Kevin Williamson for writing most of the Scream movies and then getting based on, and also writing Sick, which I watched this year as well. And then number 1, Tobe Hooper for writing the first Texas, and the second Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and then getting based upon for the rest of them.
My number 5 is Jack Kirby for Ant-Man and the Wasp, Guardians of the Galaxy, I Am Groot, and Loki. Number 4 is Wes Anderson for the aforementioned short films and Asteroid City. Number 3 is Roald Dahl for the aforementioned short films and Wonka. Number 2 is George Lucas for the 4 show, the 3, The Mandalorian, The Bad Batch, and Ahsoka, plus Willow, plus Indiana Jones and Dial of Destiny. And number 1 is Kevin Williamson for the first 6 Scream movies. Well, all the Scream movies, I think.
Yeah, and then, based upon the characters or whatever for the rest.
Yeah. What was your last play of 2023?
Fittingly, AEW World's End.
Okay, and mine was Game Changer behind the scenes of Escape the Green Room.
That was a little bit more like exciting. It was just like random episode.
Yeah. Here's it. Final thing. What are the 6 recommendations they made that you've missed?
It's interesting. So, yeah, because this is I assume it's like based on what you've watched, but also what was popular in the year that you haven't watched.
Yes.
So, number 1, well, they're not ranked, but
firstly, 3 TV shows and 3 movies.
Yeah. So, the 3 TV shows, The Night Agent, Hijack, and Blue Eye Samurai. I'm sure you can get behind.
I can get behind 2 of those.
Yeah. And then the movies, this is where it goes a bit off the rails. Flash, Shazam, Fury of the Gods, and The Equalizer 3.
Interesting. So my recommendations are The Night Agent, The Fall of the House of Usher, and Kaleidoscope.
I can get behind that.
And then the movies are Equalizer 3, The Covenant, and 65.
65?
Yes. The Adam Driver dinosaur movie.
Sure. Maybe it was really popular. I don't know. Maybe a lot of people watched it.
I think a lot of people watched it. I don't think it counts the rankings. So yeah.
Not like the star ratings, just popularity of like people.
Just the popularity. Yeah. So that's what we watched in 2023. Looking forward to tracking more stuff in 2024. Fuck Letterboxd. Let's move into giving some.
Let's not. Hold on. One thing you didn't ask about that I'm interested.
Okay.
Yeah, they've added more stats to this, right? If you scroll up.
Yeah.
How many TV shows did you watch from Australia.
I watched
You can hover over the map.
11.
15.
Interesting.
So this is a number where I'm like, man, I should get these numbers up. How about movies?
I watched 4 movies.
Oh, there, Ash. That's low.
That's bad.
I feel bad with both mine, but I feel a lot better now. Mine was 16.
Okay.
There you go.
So on that sour note, let's which I've been shown to be non-patriotic.
Yeah, that's right.
Let's give some thumbs to trailers. Of course, you can find all the trailers we're about to talk about in the show notes below. Let's kick things off with Despicable Me 4, directed by Chris Renault, starring Steve Carell, Kristen Wiig, Miranda Cosgrove, Dana Gayer, Madison Poland, Will Ferrell, Sofia Vergara, Joey King, Stephen Colbert, Chloe Feynman, Pierre Coffin, and Steve Coogan. Gru, the world's favorite supervillain turned anti-villain league agent, returns for an exciting, bold new era of Minions mayhem alongside his wife and fellow anti-villain league agent Lucy, the 3 adopted girls, Margot, Edith, and Agnes, and the newest member of the Gru family, Gru Jr., who is intent on tormenting his dad. The family is forced to go on the run when they become targeted by escaped criminal Maxime Lemol and his femme fatale girlfriend Valentina. Dylan, what do you think of this trailer for this 4th entry in the Despicable Me franchise?
Yeah, double thumbs up. That's a funny baby. That was a funny scene. There's part at the end, a lot of butt jokes, and then got minions. They get slapping each other on the ass. Lots of stuff happening. Will Ferrell and Sophie Vergara are voicing the bad guys, so fucking I'm in.
Yeah, I think it's 2 thumbs up from me. It's an interesting trailer in that it doesn't tell you very much about the movie. It's just like, here are a bunch of gags. Here's some funny bits. You're going to come see the movie. You're going to take your kids to the movie anyway. There's no need to explain
I appreciate
what little plot there is.
Yeah, I appreciate
Let's open with a bunch of minions like slapping each other around. One of them gets caught stuck in a vending machine, and the other 2 tormented for the rest of the trailer, including throwing a soda can in, which is a very funny ending. And then little baby Gru, very amusing. How happy he is with the mum, and then very upset and stoic with Gru.
My favorite thing is I looked up, went on IMDb after I watched this trailer the other day when it came out, or yesterday or the day before, whenever it was, and I was like, fuck, I can't believe there's been 4 of these. So I was just quickly looking into it. Just sometimes I look something up on IMDb, just flick around, just see who's involved and stuff. I was like, I cannot believe that Mike White is still writing the 4th one of these. Fucking Emmy Award.
Is it actually writing, or is just involved?
No, there's 2 writers. He's one of them. He's still writing these fucking movies. It's crazy to me. He's still writing random shit because he like, if you ever scroll through Mike White's stuff over the years, it's been a bit like you know, his name's been in some weird shit like the Emoji Movie and stuff, right? I'm like, okay, whatever, you got to pay the bills, man. But then when I saw him on this, I was like, okay, sure, why not? I won all these awards from a TV show, which I'm about to start a new season of. Fuck it, they asked me to write Despicable Me 4. Would be involved, why not?
Yeah. So 2 thumbs up. It's probably going to make a bunch of money. Surprisingly, neither of us picked this in our fantasy game this year, which may turn out to be a mistake. So yeah, this is releasing in cinemas on the 20th of June, 2024. Next trailer is for Ricky Stenicki, directed by Peter Farrelly, starring Zac Efron, John Cena, Jermaine Fowler, Andrew Santino, Lex Scott Davis, and William H. Macy. 20 years after creating the imaginary Ricky Stenicki, 3 childhood friends still use the non-existent pal as a handy alibi for their immature behavior. When their spouses and partners get suspicious and demand to finally meet him, the guilty trio decides to hire a washed-up actor, Rod, who brings him to life. However, when Rod takes his role of a lifetime a little too far, they begin to wish they never invented Ricky in the first place. Tell them, what do you think of the trailer for Ricky Stenicki?
I'm actually going double thumbs down. I don't think it was that funny. Like,
that's it.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, this feels like it's gonna. If usually comedies, you can have a thing where it's like, you know, all the best jokes are in the trailer, and then the movie you watch it's not very funny or whatever. I didn't even think the trailer for this looked particularly good, so can't imagine the movie being that great. I also think it's interesting that Peter Farrelly, like following Green Book, and then he went back and did like 2 comedies with this and Beer Run for Apple TV. It was Apple, wasn't it? I think.
Yep.
Yeah. It's so weird. And his career, when you used to think Peter Farrelly comedies, like MAR rated comedies, used to be like they would make money at the box office, and now something like this is going straight to streaming. Crazy. Anyway, double thumbs down. I didn't think it looked funny.
I'm gonna give it 1 up, 1 down. I mean, it looks fine. It looks like, you know, it's got its one joke, and it's probably going to ride it as much as it can, which is John Cena in ridiculous outfits. I mean, it's a simple premise, but you know, there's potential there. You know, I got a couple of chuckles out of there, including of William H. Macy, like holding a dick when he's giving presentations, and if people pointed out, that's amusing. Interesting fact, when I was like pulling up the credits for this, so this is based on a script that was first was in the blacklist of best unproduced screenplays back in 2010. At which point it was James Franco was attached to play the title role.
Does look like a lot of.
And then apparently, Joaquin Phoenix was attached to the role, considered at one point, as was Jim Carrey. So eventually rolled around to becoming John Cena. Funny how the world works. Also filmed in Australia, so technically an Australian movie. So yes, this is coming to Prime Video on the 7th of March. Next trailer is for Tuesday, directed by Dana Opusik, starring Julia Louis-Dreyfus, Lola Pettigrew, Leah Harvey, and Arzine Keane. Zora lives with her terminally ill daughter Tuesday. One day, death in the form of a size-altering macaw arrives and sends Zora and Tuesday on an emotional journey about love, life, and death. Dylan, what did you think of this trailer from the A24? What did you think of this A24 movie trailer?
The A24. I've watched this trailer twice. I think it's fantastic. Double thumbs up. The first time I watched it, I was like, holy fuck, this is like live action Studio Ghibli. Like, I could picture this as a Ghibli like animated film. And like, I don't know, maybe it's just coming off The Boy and the Heron or something. But yeah, I think it's really great trailer. Double thumbs up. Everyone looks fantastic in it. That one scene where they just have like a 30-second moment where like they're just breaking down together. I'm like, there's a lot to put that in the trailer, but yeah, keen. Obviously, look forward to watching it in 2026.
Yeah, I'll give it 2 thumbs up as well. Obviously, you know, I was on the line into including this one on the episode. My only critique is they use too many like quotes. I feel like they should have just used more footage. But yeah, interesting concepts. Never thought of death being a macaw, you know, so that's the thing. But obviously it's just a device to like kind of get these people to accept letting go and that kind of stuff. So interesting. So there is currently no release date anywhere for this film, but it will be coming soon to probably America and probably very much later in Australia. Next trailer is for Roadhouse, directed by Doug Liman, starring Jake Gyllenhaal, Daniela Melchior, Conor McGregor, J.D. Pardo, Arturo Castro, and Billy Magnuson. Ex-UFC fighter Dalton takes a job as a bouncer at a Florida Keys roadhouse, only to discover that this paradise is not all it seems. Dylan, what did you think of the trailer for the remake of Roadhouse?
Yeah, double thumbs up. I've watched this trailer twice as well. I thought it looked really, really fun. It's a weird movie to remake. I remember when they announced it, I was like, why? That just seems like a weird thing. But it's taking like the bare premise of it and just making it full on. Very, very much has. I don't know. It's like they've taken the premise of Roadhouse, but the movie itself feels like just a throwback to 80s action movies, I guess, which is just a lot of ridiculous characters and action and whatever else. But it just like, especially when you've got like Conor McGregor playing
himself,
just absolutely like. There's that line in the trailer at one point where he's like, "As soon as you get Knox involved, it's fucking over." Something like that. And I was like, oh shit, this may be one of the greatest movies of the year. Yeah, still thumbs up. I can't wait for this. I think this looks really, really good. And I feel like any like doubts I have about it, I'm like, yeah, but Doug Liman's directing it. Like
Doug Liman. Yeah.
Lyman, yeah, whatever his name is.
Yeah, I'll give it 2 thumbs up as well. I've never seen Roadhouse. Don't think anyone was surprised by that. But yeah, this looks like a good time. Obviously, you know, it looks like it's got a bit of money behind it, and you know, Jake Gyllenhaal looks like $1 million. You know, he looks good in this. Yeah, it just looks like it's going to be a ridiculous good time. I'm also a big fan of Arto Castro, who looks like he's playing the comedic relief, at least amongst the minions.
That part at the end where he's like, just waves out. He's like, "Oh, do you know it's cheaper?" "Oh no, I just broke his leg or whatever." broke his arm. Yeah.
Yeah, he's a really good dude.
Yeah,
you broke your arm.
like,
Yeah. What? So obviously, there's a bit of controversy around this movie at the moment because Doug Liman declined to show up to the premiere, upcoming premiere at South by Southwest, because he believed that Prime Video screwed the movie out of having a cinema release.
Yeah, fair. I mean,
yeah. I don't know. Well, it just depends on what the contracts were initially. Like, you know, if they always said it was going to be a streaming release, then I don't know how upset you can be.
You could still be upset. Maybe they were like, "Well, we'll see how it turns out." And then he's like,
Yeah,
"All right, well, if
like,
I produce like this, if I make like a really good fucking movie, then surely they'll have no reason not to put it on the big screen." And then they come out, they're like, "We're gonna put it on streaming." And a bunch of this is the type of movie. This looks like this 100%, 110%. This looks like it should be in the cinemas. This looks like a big screen.
It would
movie.
definitely have made money.
Yeah,
it might not have been one of the highest grossing movies this year, but
I think this
definitely would have gotten
this easily. I think would have sat in the top 5 of the box office for several weeks easily.
Yeah. But instead, it's releasing on Prime Video on the 21st of March.
Dumb. And everyone's going to watch it on their phones with their fucking speakers on their shitty phones. And
all right. Well, our last trailer for this week is a movie that got saved from being a streamer release. Monkey Man. Directed by Dev Patel, starring Dev Patel, Sharto Copley, Peter Bash.
Sorry. It's Jordan Peele's Monkey Man. Thank you.
That's not actually the title.
I think you'll find that it's actually called Jordan Peele's Monkey Man.
Monkey Man.
Okay.
From producer Jordan Peele.
Okay.
Also starring Peter Bash, Sabita Dulapala, Sinkana Kerr, Vipin Sharma, Ashwini Kaleska, Adithi Kalkunti, and Makarand Deshpande. I forgot to the description. Hang on.
Man wants revenge, fucking punches people. There you go. What more plot do you want?
What more do I want? That's a fair point. A recently released ex-felon living in India struggles to adjust to a world of corporate greed and eroding spiritual values. Dylan, what did you think of the trailer?
My description was a lot better than that.
What did you think of the trailer for Monkey Man?
Yeah, double thumbs up. Fucking keen as. Thank you, John Peele, or whoever helped save the movie from going to straight to streaming. That would have been a horrible disservice. I mean, the movie just looks like straight like I don't know, like plot wise, it just reminds me of any sort of martial arts Asian cinema release. Is what it is, but with the very different vibe, given it's not in like Thailand or China or a lot of where those martial arts movies are set and stuff like that. I think it's crazy the fact that old mate's a black belt. I did not know that until this trailer came out, and then all these stories coming out like, yeah, he's been trying to make martial arts movies for ages. I'm like, wow, okay, I had no idea, but good for him. Looks like it has a strong visual style. Yeah, I'm super keen for this. It came out of nowhere, and now the jumped up the list for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, it looks fantastic. 2 thumbs up. Looks like, Indian John Wick. And it being set in India, I think makes it kind of distinctive from, a lot of other stuff, despite, them all speaking English and that kind of stuff. It definitely has its own visual style. And yeah, it looks like the fight choreography in this looks fantastic. I didn't know that he was a black belt either until you just said it. So
did you?
That's
okay.
super surprising. Especially when you like the last thing I watched him in was like the Wes Anderson thing, like so cozy, like homemade kind of stuff, and then just see him in this like beating the shit out of people and getting like trying to jump through a window and
Yeah, I can't remember where I read the story. Like
Epic fail.
whenever the trailer dropped, I think I don't know Variety or whoever I read the story about. They're like, yeah, like Dev Patel's black belt has been for like since he was I don't know a teenager. And he's been trying to make action. He's been trying to get a film where he can be the lead made for years and years and years. And everyone kept being like, no, because he doesn't look the part. And I'm like,
no.
You go, man.
No. Well, it makes sense because remember there was that story back in 2022 where he broke up a fight in Adelaide.
Fuck, there wasn't there? There you go. He fucking
So apparently there was a knife involved as well. So
well,
takes some
legend.
balls and experience to do that. So yeah, Dev Patel here for it. I'm sure all the James Bond talk will continue after this, but hopefully continues to do his own thing. This will be a big success. We can get 1 million Monkey Man movies. So yes, this is releasing in cinemas on the 4th of April. All right, let's move into this week's top 3.
Definitely in the top 3.
And this week's top 3 is top 3 Sundance 2024 films we're excited to see. Of course, Sundance just concluded. A lot of films were released for critics and some moviegoers to go see. So, Dylan, what's your number 3 film that caught your attention?
So my rules for this was I didn't pick anything I'd brought up in other previous lists.
Yes. I also refrained from including any of the films in our fantasy game, which I'll just bring up the current score. You're currently leading 20-13, with 3 of your films being released at Sundance. But all your points were gotten by Love Live's leading, which has a 8.0 on Rotten Tomatoes amongst critics. Your 2 Sundance wildcards, the Mugai and the winner, are both 0 points. Mugai currently sitting at a 3.6 and the winner currently sitting at a 4.6. For me, Love Me is currently sitting at a 5.7 and Sasquatch Sunset is sitting at a 73, which earned like 13 points. But, once they get an actual wide release, that could change significantly. But, yeah, not very good picks, Dylan, for your wildcards.
Yeah, well, they're wildcards for a reason, you know what I mean?
All right, what's your number 3?
Number 3, I went with Union, the documentary about Amazon or former Amazon workers trying to like create a union basically or start a unionization and battle the giant that is Amazon. You'll always hear about how terrible Amazon. Well, we know how terrible Amazon is, but I think in particular because different laws and stuff in America, you quite often hear about how terrible working for Amazon in America can be because they have a lot less workers' rights than we do in Australia, especially for the small. Well, I mean, you go down that road, but yeah, it looks super interesting. From what I heard, everyone said it was like really in depth, really interesting documentary on that sort of subject matter. Maybe eye-opening to some people, I guess, that sort of stuff. So that's my number 3.
All right. My number 3 is A Real Pain, the second film Jesse Eisenberg has directed, starring Jesse Eisenberg and Kieran Culkin as 2 cousins who travel to Poland after their grandmother's death to see where they come from and end up joining a Holocaust tour. Apparently very good. Kieran Culkin is fantastic, and Jesse Eisenberg again showing his chops as a director after his first film, When You Finish Saving the World. So yeah, I'm looking forward to checking that out. Dylan, what's your number 2?
My number 2 is Thelma, film that stars June Squibb as a 93-year-old woman who is duped by a scam pretending to be her grandson, and then she sets out on a treacherous quest across the city to reclaim what was taken from her. Everything I saw people said about it and whatever else said it rides a very good line between being funny enough to not be as dark as like this story could be, which is like because it could be like really terrible, like people's lives get ruined when these things happen, but also not so funny that isn't able to keep the seriousness of this sort of stuff happening and still be able to have that message, I guess. Do it. June Squibb's usually pretty great in everything she's in. Fred Hertschinger is the I don't know, the actual grandson, I guess, or something. He was really good in Pale Blue Eyes, or as much as I didn't think the rest of the movie that was great. But also Parker Posey's in this, so shout outs.
Yeah. So this is my number one.
Boom.
You know, it's the Beekeeper, but Jason Statham's being played by an old lady. You know, taking out phone scammers. Yeah, this, from everything I hear, is really good. Again, also other really good cast members, including Clark Gregg, Malcolm McDowell, Nicole Byer, involved in the film as well. It's got 100% on Rotten Tomatoes across 20 reviews with the average rating of 7.7. So very promising. Sounds like it'd be a lot of fun. I think it was, I can't remember. Somebody picked it up, I want to say. Oh, no. Haven't got a distributor yet from the look of it, based on what I'm reading on Wikipedia. So yeah, Thelma, looking forward to that. Dylan, what's your number one?
My number one is Presence,
Ooh.
the Steven Soderbergh film that everyone says is really intense. It all takes place in one location. It's like his go at like a horror thriller. They shot it in like a couple weeks apparently, but all in one location. Stars Lucy Liu. But people have said it's really like typical Soderbergh. I think there was something about it, like not like a lot of the camera angles are just weird and like odd choices for the genre, which is typical for Soderbergh, I guess. But also people said it's actually quite tense throughout its short run time, and he keeps up that passion and he proves. But none of this surprises me because as much as I didn't like, or I didn't not like it, I thought it was fine that one he did a couple of years ago. What was that called? It was let me find it quickly. Kimmy, right? So that came out a couple of years ago, and that was a thriller. And he sort of, like, you could see in that movie, like he has a sense for this, like that sort of genre stuff. And nearly all of that movie was on one location. So seeing this being maybe the elevation of that, yeah, I'm really keen to watch this.
Interesting. So my number two was My Old Ass, which is a comedy in which a young girl is visited by her future self and told not to fall in love. But then she meets a boy, you know, and then hilarity ensues. Apparently it's a great coming of age film about, finally moving on to college and leaving home and that kind of stuff. I saw somebody say it's the best movie about leaving home since Toy Story 3. So, that's the thing. Directed by Megan Park, who directed the Fallout, which was a movie I really enjoyed. So, yeah, that's my number two. Yeah. Any other films that you want to shout out? I was surprised that I Saw the TV Glow wasn't on your list.
Which one?
I Saw the TV Glow, the new movie from Jane Schoenberg, who did We're All Going to the World Fair.
Oh, yeah. Could have been, I guess. But...
I heard that was very popular.
Yeah.
Very well reviewed, so.
Oh, no, a lot of movies are good. It's Sundance. It's full of great movies.
It's Sundance. Probably one of our favorite movies will be one that we didn't mention.
Something from this.
Yeah. But Dylan, this week, what do you want to watch?
This week, I want to watch Argyle.
I too want to watch Argyle.
When are you watching Argyle?
Possibly Thursday, maybe Friday.
Okay. When reviews come out?
I don't know.
Because nothing out yet. I don't know if it's a bad
I haven't seen, yeah. I think maybe they're just, I got the feeling they're trying to keep it secret, and that's maybe there hasn't been any press.
All the trailers.
They're trying to keep who Agent Argyle is a secret.
The real Agent Argyle's a dog. And the whole movie, Cats and Dogs was on the TV the other night, so shout out to that movie. Yeah, I think that's distracted my brain. But no, Argyle looks really fun. I don't think every Matthew Vaughn movie is a 10 out of 10. Definitely has a style, obviously.
Yep.
And you see it within the trailer of this. The cast is really good. Lots of standouts and everything. But I just think the idea of the plot itself, just the idea that someone's writing stuff that happens, and then you got Bryan Cranston trying to chase it down. You got Sam Rockwell looks like he's having a lot of fun in this, and I don't know how much we're going to get of the fake characters. I guess that'll be interesting to see.
Yeah,
like Henry Cavill and Dua Lipa and whoever else is in like the fake world, John Cena. So that'll be interesting to see. But yeah, should be a fun movie nonetheless. On the TV side, my pick would be Mr. and Mrs. Smith.
Yes, my pick would also be Mrs. and Mrs. Smith, which we may or may not have watched already and can't talk about. But I also want to shout out Orion in the Dark, the Charlie Kaufman written animated film that's dropping on Netflix this week. I'm excited to watch that. So yeah. Let us know what you're excited to watch this week, or how upset you are about the Academy Award nominations by going to explosion.com/Twitter, or jump into Discord at explosion.com/Discord. If you want to help us out here at what you want to watch, leave us a review on Apple Podcasts or on Podchaser. Leave us 5 stars. Anywhere can leave 5 stars, or just tell people about the show. And if you've enjoyed this episode, thought it was worth $1, head on over to our Ko-fi page at explosion.com/support. All right. Thank you very much for listening. Until next time, keep watching stuff, I guess.